G'day, 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 you absolute bunch of bloody legends. Hoping you're doing very well out there in internet land. This is Loserbum, providing some very low quality, single take, not very scripted, retro technology content. First video of 2023, chuffed to be here. And special shout out to my by now almost 300 subscribers. Maybe this is the year where we crack the big 300. So today we are here to do some retro gaming, not on original hardware like I've been doing on the PC stuff. It's on a Commodore 64. Now I have two Commodore 64s, well actually more like 1.5, but they're not working and it would take too long to restore them. Maybe one day I can stream directly off those. So we're running off an emulator. The advantage of that is that you can do this as well without the hardware. I'll show you how to do that. So, without further ado, today we are doing a game review of Crossfire by Sierra, a game which came out in 1983 for the Commodore 64. So, 40 years, 4 decades ago, that's when this game came out, and just a little bit late, Loserbum's going to review it for you. Note that it's by Sierra Online. This was before they were famous. Sierra is a big name, right? Leisure Suit Larry, the Space Quest series, King's Quest, they were absolute demons. One day I'll definitely do some stuff on Leisure Suit Larry on the PC, for example. Those games were seminal. But this is one of their earlier ones. Yeah, you find other content. I'll put a link in the description below. There's a good video by this guy. What's his name? Low Spec Gamer on Sierra and how they nearly got screwed by the whole ET debacle. So interesting. So how to run it? How are we going to run the game? So we're going to run it in the browser. So you don't need to install anything. I'll put a link to this in the description below. This is just a browser I found on the internet of a Commodore 64. So you can just play it as though it was a real machine. Next, you need the file with the game. Again, you download it. This is archive, the Internet Archive. You need this D64 file. That's a disk 64 image, 170K. Yep, that's how big one side disk was back then. Again, bonkers how small that is, right? There isn't a graphic here which is any smaller than 170. So once you have downloaded that file, all you need to do is I have it here prepared earlier. So here's the file. Right, the D64, you drop it onto this, drag and drop it onto this gray space here in the emulator. So you drop that on there, and because we have auto start on, it's going to type for you. This is what we used to type to start a game, load, yada yada yada. This emulator seems to have some sort of speed DOS running, because in real life, what you're about to see would take minutes, right? And maybe not 1 minute. So he's loaded, he's typing run, and here we are in the game. I'm going to go full screen. Here it is. And I think it takes a moment to load and be ready to play. There it is. This is the game. We're going to get stuck into that right now. So to start a game, it's F1. That's the one key you need to remember. So F1 was the F1 on the Commodore keyboard and is on your PC keyboard. And you're going to be using two combinations, sets of 4 keys on the keyboard to control it. On your left hand, it's not the ASDW, which you normally have on all shooters today. In fact, on my laptop here, it's a gaming laptop, the keys are even highlighted so you can find. It's one further to the right. So instead of WASD, it's ESDF. That's what you use to control your spaceship. And then your right hand, you put on IJKL. That's the direction you're going to shoot with. So let's get ready how that works. So F1 to start, and I'm starting. So it's the other way around. The right hand is the one which you use to control, and the left hand is the one which you use to shoot in a particular direction. And whoops, I already died because I had my hand on the WASD instead of the right hand one. So yeah, I managed to get off a shot. So it's a shooter, right? It's a 2D shooter. It's not a bottom up, right? It's not the classic Space Invaders. You can shoot in all directions with that left hand, right? So that's already the interesting side of things. So I can shoot the the things when they are still in their base. Oops, he got me. Or I can shoot them when they come out and start hunting me. It's a little bit like Pac-Man. There's definitely echoes of Pac-Man here. And you kind of notice every time you shoot them, they go back to their original position, but they have a new shape. So there's 4 different shapes. There's that diamond one, which we have here next to this guy, the one who's hunting me. That's a diamond. Then you have that. Whoop, game over. That was already game over at 370 points. Okay, F1 again. Let's do this. So yeah, they have 4 shapes from that diamond shape ones that then turns into a sort of insecty shape one. Here I have one on the right. Damn, missed him. Then that turns into that little red guy with the 2 legs, and then into the pineapple shaped ones, I want to say. And yeah, and that's it. And the interesting thing is, as you can see, the shooting is independent of the moving. The other game mechanic is that you have these bonus, I'm going to call them lamps, these red things, just like in Pac-Man, they give you extra bonus. Okay, so I'm shooting the things, trying to collect them, and trying not to die, and they go through the evolutions. The other things to remember or to note is that the number of bullets is limited. So first, I can only have 1 bullet on the screen at once, right? So I've been pressing here now, but it's only pressing once a bullet has actually gone off screen. That was a limitation of the hardware back then, but is an interesting game mechanic anyway. Right, so that's the one, and once I've run out of bullets here, I'll force it just by shooting into a corner. Sorry, by shooting into a corner, I can also kind of artificially force those lamps to come out. That's a neat trick you can have, and you know, it's like 100, 200, 400. And right, now I've shot almost all of my bullets. I only have 5 left, and I need to pick up new ones here, which can be quite annoying. And again, that's something where you can force because it's not random, it's a fixed number. Oops, now because I've shot so much, I've got that lamp over there, which I believe also disappears. Last game mechanic. Once I shoot, once there's only 5 guys left, they all come out, right? That's an important thing. So I'm kind of lucky here that I can still get these guys out. So that's why you want to get them like all in the pineapple format before they come out of their holes. So we're going to do that thing now. Boom, now they're all going to start hunting me, and they're coming from all directions. That's the game, right? I'm going to die here because I need to step out. With escape, I can get out of the full screen. So it's a shooter, it's 2-dimensional, what's the big deal, right? Why was this, why do I even bother after 40 years? Why do I even remember this game? So, number one, it was a game that I had, right? So there was a phenomenon back in those days before the internet that you didn't have many games, right? You had the ones you had. You might have 10 or 20 on the floppies which you'd bought, or in most cases pirated. And if you didn't know anybody who had the cool games and couldn't copy it from them, well, you were stuck playing with what you had. And this was one of the ones which I had, and was one of the most entertaining shooters I had. In my case, it wasn't that the place I was at. I wasn't stuck in a little village with no other Commodore owners, but I actually got my C64 late, but it was like obsolete by the time I got it. A friend of mine just gave it to me when he moved out of the country for various reasons. And so then, you know, nobody had a C64 anymore, and there was no internet, so I just had the floppies which came along, and this was on there. So that was one phenomenon. The other one, which I need to get into, is that this game is very meditative and zen for 2 particular reasons, and I'm about to show you why. It's like you have the music. This is the music. I'm going to leave it on. It'll be annoying for you, but I hope you can still hear me. Listen to that. It's 8-bit, but C64 had a really good sound chip, the synth. So all of this is actually multiple analog frequency generators layered over each other. So if you listen to the song, older timers will recognize it as the Peter Gunn theme. It's a 12-bar blues pattern, and it's just burned into my memory. It's impossible for me not to play chords on the guitar or piano in blues, not to play them in this sequence, because it's so burned. And it's very repetitive music. That's already very meditative. It puts you into a zen, into a flow state. The next part of the flow state is because you're using both hands, and by extension, both parts of your brain. So my left hand is shooting, and my right hand is moving, and they have to work in unison. I have to plan where am I going to be when my next shot comes, right? That's the second part. Almost like when you play piano two-handed, you get into a zen, you get into a flow, you integrate your left hand and your right hand. And it's not just that it gets you into that flow. To get higher scores here, you have to get into that flow. The third one, also very meditative. As soon as I look only in a corner, as soon as I look only at my guy and maybe the couple of enemies which are nearby, I'm gonna lose because, oops, I would have missed that on the complete opposite end of the board. Whoops, there were the bullets, right? And so I would have missed that. So you actually need to look pretty much at the center of the board and unfocus your eyes so you are constantly, permanently capturing the entire board as one, and that you're never planning just on a little corner to do one thing. Is everything is planned in an absolutely holistic concept, which is exactly what you do in meditation. You focus on the breath, and as soon as your thinking starts to go onto a specific memory or anything like that, you stop it and you gently go back to meditation. And so yeah, over the years, or when I was playing this back, well, almost 40 years ago. Oops, yeah, okay, can't talk and play at the same time. This actually got me into amazing flow and meditation states. And when I started meditating again 30 years later, or meditating altogether 30 years later, after a while I say, hey, where have I felt this way before? Oh, it was playing Crossfire, right? So that's where that's coming from. While you're here on this emulator, what you can do is you can press save here, and that just saves the state of your emulated machine here, of your emulator. I don't know if it puts it in a cookie or if it's saved on the server, but next time you come to this page, you can just hit load and it will just reset to the exact millisecond where you press that save. So that's very convenient when you're doing high scores. Speaking of high scores, one reason why I'm reviewing this game is I'm hoping to find some time to do a live stream on this. This is done as a one-shot recording rather than a live stream, just out of laziness, but I want to do a live stream of this and then just sit there and see if I can crack the 100,000. You notice how this actually goes up to 6 digits. The high score table goes up to 6 digits. Well, you can hit 100,000. You get new ships, I think, at 5,000 points, which when you add the 100 bonus, 200, 400, 800, you can add that up over time. You can make those points. And if you just get ships faster than you die, because there are positions where you just can't get out the way, you can just keep playing forever. It gets tough because in the higher levels, you only have like 15 bullets between resets, so you got to be super precise and all of that stuff. But again, that flow state. So I'm gonna stream there and see if I can get in there and definitely get into I think a 5-digit, a 10,000 will be totally achievable. But let's see how high we can go streaming onto that. Oh, I see that full screen has removed my video. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to share, where I was reminded of this game, is something completely different, right? So Geometry Wars 3 Dimensions Evolved is a game I have on Steam. I bought it because this guy Foiron, I'll link his Twitter handle. It's this weird Canadian guy who does Lisp programming, neuroses, and lots of gaming, and seems to be a bit goth. Hi, man. And so yeah. He's just a random guy I follow on Twitter because of Lisp. He recommended this game. I played it, or I bought it, and and started playing it. And I was reminded of Crossfire for a reason, which I hope to be able to show you now. One thing, notice at the bottom left, Geometry Wars is a Sierra game. 40 years later, they're still here. Next thing you hear is that music. Okay, it's not as simple, but it's kind of meditative music. It also, I think you need to, I can't remember, I think it plays better with mouse and keyboard. I need to check. Okay, so go into adventure. I'm gonna go deadline. I'm gonna play, continue. And now I just have to remember how this works. Okay. Yeah, okay, with the WASD keys, I can control the guy, and with the mouse, I can control the target of where I'm going. You see the echoes, right? Enemies from multiple places, shooting in multiple places. In this case, you actually have to navigate through these gates, and the things bounce. But yeah, this is like Crossfire 40 years on, made by the same publisher, which I think is bloody awesome. I'm not endorsing this game for people my age because the hand-eye coordination needed is absolutely bonkers, but yeah, it's kind of fun. So let's get out of there. Yeah, just wanted to put that out of there, that there's a saying, I think it even exists in Latin, and I wish I could remember what the Latin was, which kind of says there's nothing new under the sun, right? Nothing new gets invented, and yeah, Crossfire over to Geometry Wars. So I think with that, we have reached the end of this video. Thank you very much for listening. Keep an eye out for the stream if and when it shows up. Remember, by the way, remember as always to like, share, and subscribe. Remember to tell your friends to like, share, and subscribe. You're the internet. I'm Loserbum. You're all a bunch of bloody legends, and I am out of here.